Okay.
감독님, 오케이.
오케이. 한 번만 더 할게요.
Hi everyone, I'm Shereen Syada from Kurdistan journalist, and I'm here at the Busan International Short Film Festival, and I'm speaking to filmmaker Johee Oh to talk about her film The Good Samaritan and her sister Hanhee Oh, who is the producer and actress in the film. And I've had the pleasure of seeing The Good Samaritan in competition here in Busan. I am so glad that they agreed to speak with me about the film and about their experiences and what inspired them to create this story. So as usual, before we start talking about the film, I'm going to ask them a bit about themselves, to talk about what inspired them to become filmmakers and a producer, what got them interested in telling this story, which is about Minju, a young Korean girl, 16, who moves all the way from Korea to Germany to learn about the language when she was in public school. And she encounters some difficulties there, but while she's there, she meets another student called Kajin, who's a Kurdistan refugee in Germany. And the film tackles many topics. I think talks about the politics of being a refugee, talks about the politics of being an immigrant, and the mental and emotional toll it takes, because being an immigrant is something that a lot of people who aren't immigrants don't understand. Is takes a lot out of you mentally and emotionally. So can you so before we get into talking about the Good Samaritan, I'll have them say a bit about themselves and then we can get into discussion. Thank you for talking with me today about your film The Good Samaritan, which has I'm so excited. So it's screened here at the Busan International the Busan International Short Film Festival in the Korean Program 4. And first of all, how do you feel about being here in Busan, covering not only releasing your film here, but both of you being Korean yourselves? Like, what does it mean to you to have your film screened here?
It is really happy to be here because the first one, so my professor comes from Busan, which I actually not very connected in this city, and this is the second time to visit Busan though, so I'm so happy to be here. And I like this city, is very fun. So it is a little bit county, but also it is like more live. How to say? More, I can feel more live with the people. And also, we never imagined that our film will be screened as a world premiere in Korea, and I feel very excited because of that, my mom and dad can see our film in Korea,
And we can brag about it.
Yeah, right.
Like they invited their friends to the screening, and also like my friends from Korea, they also came to our screening, and it was so good to share show our film to my people, and it was also good show our film to Korean, because I think many people don't know about the story, like how it's been immigrant or refugee in other, especially in Germany. So it was really happy to be here.
And also people in the film festival, they have so much fun, and they're very interesting people, and I'm so happy to meet them.
So before we begin discussing the film The Good Samaritan, usually I like to have my film guests say a bit about themselves, about got them into filmmaking or working on the film industry. So for you, Johee, you are the director, and for you, Hanhee, you're the producer, and your siblings as well. So I think that's such a very special thing, because not only is it a film about female characters, but it's a film made and produced and directed and written by female creatives. So I want both of you to talk about, before you even got the idea for the film, just deciding you wanted to work in the film industry, that you wanted to be a producer and you wanted to be a director and writer. What led to that? For both of you individually, what led to that?
This question is very difficult for me because I've got this question from my professor Johee. Why do you want to be a filmmaker? And then I think it could be easy to tell my stories, like, yes, because blah blah blah, but it was so difficult to find out why, actually why. So, and I keep asking myself, and yeah, it's actually very simple. Yeah, I love movies, I love watch the movies, I love talk about the movies, and also I love to make movies with this my first project, named Good Samaritan Girl, and then I like. And also, I think there's a lot of stories which should be told, and I think we can find such a stories like that, like diaspora life, and also the immigrants or something. Yeah, and then I decided, okay, film. I love films and I love to tell the stories. So I thought, yes, why not? And
But-
it's a yeah.
But you're also doing, in your biography it says you're also studying archaeology.
Yes.
Like, why?
It's very random, so like it's like saying this is the t-shirts of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. And actually I really like to read the Greek tragedy. How to say?
Tragedy?
Yeah, tragedy. And yeah, it is just a personal interest of me. And then I just like, okay, I try, and yeah, I try to find out what actually is, which I never expected, and yes.
And for you, like, what made you decide you wanted to be a producer?
Because I want to like make many films. Like if you are a film director or a film like a writer, a script writer, it could be very like hard to make many films because you have to focus on one project like for like maybe 2 years or like for long term. But for producer, it's not like that. It works not like that. Yes, that's why I decided to be producer rather than a director. And being siblings in her film industry in Germany, I think it's also very nice to have
And also
her.
work potential.
Yeah. Because we are like foreigners in Germany because we don't have like somebody to rely on. Yeah, and especially in film industry because there are a lot of men and like male filmmakers. So it's also like good for me to have her. Yeah, like this.
And also, yeah, it's
You have the connection as siblings, but then also sharing the same experiences, because it's also interesting that because you're both siblings, but you moved at the same time, because like necessarily just because you're sisters doesn't mean that one would move to Germany and the other one would, but both of you did. So you can relate to the experiences that you both share together, because like me having a twin sister, both of us moving to Canada at the same time, like we can understand each other, like the loneliness that you suffer, that you experience as an immigrant, but also the isolation, but also the, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not just curiosity, but the extra isolation, because like when you move to other countries, you can tell when people treat you differently, but you can tell when people see you as a foreigner, like when people see that you're like, oh, you're not one of us. You know, they sometimes it's subtle, but then sometimes they're not shy about letting you know that they consider you an outsider. So that features into the Good Samaritan a lot, because it's a story of Minju, who is Korean, and at the age of 16, she decides to move all the way to Germany to become a student. So talk about both of you having your own experience of moving from Korea, then to Vietnam with your parents, then to Germany, and using that as a story you wanted to like basically make the story almost like an autobiography, like a biopic, to tell your own stories.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly. The true story of us. Yeah, we written without something fictional things. Yeah. So
The scene on the stairs, like you're like at least that part did not happen.
But yeah, so what I find really interesting is because we both experienced the same time and also same experience, that was same happened, but we have the other perspective, how to see this this situation. Yeah, and then we discuss a lot, and then we find some middle point for it, and then it was very interesting because I always thought she would feel like me exactly the same, but it was not, right?
Like we discussed about the character Minju. Like what I imagined about Minju was like me, Hanhee, and she's like more like Johee.
Yeah.
And
And also she did as an actor, so and we have to find the real
Minju. And what I wanted to talk, I wanted to play Minju as a strong girl, but
it was very difficult to choose Minju as a strong character because she's already a shy person and she most like she is
her motivations.
But we try.
And I think she's very brave because she's like 16 years old, but she decided to go to another country or more.
They're like we're together.
We are together, but almost being alone in a foreign country and with like 16 years old girl, it would be very difficult.
Without family.
Without family, and she doesn't even know like the language. Probably. So my interpretation about of the Minju was like very brave, but she lost her motivations because
she the fact, as you said, she moved to a completely different country, and not an Asian country where like at least she'd be surrounded by people who look like her, but she went all to Germany, which is a predominantly white country. They speak a completely different language, they have a completely different culture, and I found it interesting she moved to a public school and not to a university, where at least in a university there's like a structure where she has there's like a system, like if she has a problem she can go speak to the dean, but at a public school she doesn't have that. She doesn't have that support system. Like she loses the place where she's staying and she doesn't have anyone to call. So what was the purpose of putting her in a public school rather than like in a university or a college?
So I also had some talk with friends in the university who are actually also the foreigner as we, and we are talking about the high school life, and also public school life, and also the university life. It is totally different. Like we thought, so in the public school we have to try being real German, being looks like German, being act like German. It is our very important things to do. But in the university, it is that kind of very portable. There are a lot of foreigners, and we can find out our common things, and we can share our situation. But in the public school, there's something like different, right?
Like our point was also like a society with how the young others with the refugee background, and they are also like not grown up, so they have like immature thoughts, and I think it was also important to us, show like young others' lives, because university, like international students in university have also a lot of problems, but I think in the film it was not often shown as young adult.
I think that because it's in a high school, like they're surrounded, as you said, by other immigrants and refugees from of the same age, and I thought it was interesting because when there's films about refugees, especially those shown in North America, they're not usually about teenagers or the children and the effect that what being an immigrant and a refugee has on the younger generations, on kids. Usually it's about the parents and it's about the politics between the countries that have the conflict. But this one, your film is highlighting how children, when they move to new countries, especially under these stressful situations, how they struggle. And they struggle in school, and how the teachers don't care and the teachers don't help, because like their teacher, like Minju and Kajin's teacher, she doesn't care that these students are struggling with learning a completely new language. She's short-tempered. She doesn't show any interest. Like they're being bullied, and rather than calling out the bully, she's focusing on the students like Kajin and Minju who are being bullied. You know, like she's not looking out for these kids, and that's because the person doing the bullying is a German kid, a German student. So it shows like even the adults around these young children aren't taking into consideration like what being an immigrant means and protecting them, because it's showing also that the otherism, like how when you as a move to another country, like people treat you as an outsider, you know, they treat you as an alien. So talk about like the teacher and the experience of showing the teacher being as dismissive and as there's a word that I would say in my page and that would be carriage, but it's like basically like she's not interested in these students. She's not interested in being kind and patient to them.
I would say that she's like how to say, she's a symbol of these systems, like this infocus system, this international prepare class, sexual
Go ahead.
yeah, it's a she is actually represent actually the system, the international class, which is actually for the foreign students. But it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So theoretically, it's very fine. It's very polite. It is very safe for the children. But actually, it doesn't work that well. But we expected it, and it was very hard to say. So at the other side, it was very good to be there because we met the Shereen and also the friends in the class. But in the other case, it is like it's just isolation of the German society, which we have to be part of it, and it is like very. I think this scene and also the teacher is very complex roles in the film, but also in the society, and I want to show that she's actually how to say it nice.
Go ahead. I think she's not very mean, you know, because many students, many students had like traumata from their birth, and she doesn't like know how it is, how the kids are now on in the situation, and she doesn't know how to do it. And of course she has to learn what the kids are going on, because the system is just new. It's also a very new system.
Right.
Since 2015. So she didn't also know how she handled it.
Right. So like you're saying, it's showing how the system doesn't think about these things. They'll be like, okay, we have a refugee program, we have an immigrant program where like the children of immigrants can join our public schools, but they don't create a program or a system to help with integration, you know, to help with like counseling or even teaching the teachers how to work with these students. But even saying that, to me, is just about basic empathy. Like you shouldn't need a government program to teach you how to be empathetic towards students. You know, that should just be something that should be natural to a teacher. Like it should just be like natural to her. Okay, these kids are learning a completely new language, one that's not Asian centered. And when I say that, because like Japanese and Korean can have like kind of similarities, and like even Chinese, because there's like Sino, Korean, and like some Japanese ingredient. But so like she's not thinking, okay, let me be a bit more patient, you know, like. And I understand what you're saying about the system, but it's just showing how adults themselves just don't consider children of other countries to be worth paying attention to, you know, like. But then speaking about the teaching and the situation, like this is where the kids start to see, and I think it's important that what you guys did is show there's kids from many different countries there. Like, you know, there's Minju who's from Korea, there's Kajin who's Kurdish, Syrian, and there's another boy I believe who was from like Morocco, and like other students from different countries, and it's showing I think also the political state of the world, because like especially for the students like from the Middle East and East Africa and North Africa, like they didn't move to Germany because they wanted to. They moved because they had to. They had no other option, right? So that's another situation when you're having a film like this to show the differences between white people. You know, for Minju it was a choice. This was her own choice. But like for Kajin, her family didn't want to be there, you know, but they had no other option. And that changes the perspective that they each have other situations. So talk about now the differences and similarities between Kajin, because they can both relate to each other as being outsiders and also learning the new language. But I think their differences are what really stands out to me in the film, where like we're learning how both these girls have their own stories, and that we get to see their own stories and their own backgrounds and why they are in the situation they are.
Yeah. So I had to say about the weird situation. I think that actually I never thought that I can be so close with cousin, with Shereen, who is also the cousin, and who is also with the same person, same as a trained cousin. And I never thought like we are so close, like we are coming to Korea to visit the film festival, because that time we couldn't understand each other. Yeah, it's a language things, and also language barriers, and also there's a cultural barrier. And then also the other stuff is the same for me, but the time is going, and then I just find out, okay, how can you be connected? Like, even if we can understand each other very well, but we love for some funny situations in the class, and we also fought a lot, I guess. And there's also so many troubles with this immigrant situation, also the refugee situation. And then I found that, okay, we are actually the same people who can feel the same ways, and so who can live in the Germany. And then I have more understanding with other guys, with other people, and then I start to understand very seriously and to be close with them. Yeah, and then it was also very important, important phase of me, so in my life. Yeah.
I think like cousin and Minju are going also like going through together. Like they have also like relationship issues also, also like visa issues, and also like school issues, and they have to learn languages, so they have actually a lot of things, like beside only like culture or work experience. But I think it's very important to like integrate so many kinds of kids in that way, because they have already a lot of similarity, and they are going to like learn together. Yeah, so
Yeah, it's important too, because something that also really stood out to me is that it took another student, someone the same age as Minju, to basically rescue her from the situation that she was in, because there she was in this house and she got scammed by an adult. She got, like, the owner of the house was an adult, came in and didn't show any concern to why this teenager is in his house. You know, he's not concerned that this girl is by herself. He shows no sympathy or any empathy and say, you know what, I can give you an extra day. You know, he didn't care that she was in a precarious situation. He didn't care about sending this teenager, this child, out onto the street alone by herself. And the police came there and let her get kicked out. You know, they didn't offer any support and say, okay, there's a home for children that you can go to spend the night until you get on your feet. And she's a minor, like there's no consideration. So does that talk, from your own perspective, does that talk about how maybe the German culture and the German system doesn't offer any protection for children, for immigrant and refugee children, because I was just blown away to that scene. I was just waiting for the police officer to say, okay, come with us and we'll take you somewhere safe. They didn't, they just let her get kicked out.
I think there are a lot of systems for the children and also for the people who need some protections. But as our situation, we also couldn't understand why we didn't find out the such a protection system or something, or the police.
Yeah, because we experience like in the same way. We thought, okay, there are also few people who like want to protect it. So we wanted to show the other side of the system. But I'm sure that Germany has a lot of program for children or English children. I'm sure.
Yeah, but it's just that wasn't your experience.
There is also I think there is also spectrum.
But as how to say, international student, they have no idea about it. So maybe who are very common German society days, then we find out. But like us, so we are just a young adult international student, and we had no idea how we just find out.
Yeah.
So I think it is very important things in the society, because there's a system and there are some people who need it, but they just had no idea how to find it.
Yeah. And so now I want to talk a bit about Johee and her family, because it's just her and her mother. We don't see a dad, we don't see older or male siblings. So it's just again these and again this your film is centered on female relationships. So it's about Johee and her mother and the relationship they have. And they have a very close relationship, and thankfully Minju and her mom have a very close relationship too, because we can hear on the phone conversations that Minju is not afraid of telling her mom what's happening. Because I honestly thought when after she got kicked out, she spoke to her mom, I had the thought that she's not going to reveal to her mom that she's on the street, but she did tell her mom okay mom, I got scammed and everything. So I want you talk about the honesty in that, and having both of these girls being so honest with their own mothers, Johee, when she takes home Minju to her mom, they reveal everything to her mom. So there's no unnecessary secrets, which is one of my biggest pet peeves in films, where people don't reveal important information. And I'm just this is how this person was happening. But we get both of these girls being honest with their own mothers.
At first, so I'm a big fan of the good relationship between mom and daughter, because there's a lot of things they have. You know that, right? Yeah. And the relationship between the mom and daughter is very toxic, I guess. But at the time, I had a lot of problem with my mom, and I had also the secret which I can't tell her. But I always try to be honest with the conversation with my dad. And also when I saw the real cousin's mom and also cousin, I thought this relationship is very, very helpful, because they never hide it. And I thought yes, it should be like that when we live in the family. Yeah.
That's a good question, but I think I can't answer question. Sorry, but because I usually hide. I don't tell to my mom, but she's a very important person for me. But I think I wouldn't tell my mom if I was in this situation.
Yeah, it is kind of the different perspective between us.
Well, I think it's better that it was a good choice that we show their relationship.
Because when I wrote the script, and I thought it could be shown the mom doesn't care, and I actually didn't want to show that because my mom cares a lot, and also a lot of mothers care their daughter and the daughters and the students. Yeah. And then I feel like it is very important to be shown like this healthy relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important too, because like that is one of my pet peeve in like film, especially Korean cinema. Like there's always like toxic relationships between the mothers and the daughters. I'm always just like a healthy relationship between a mother and a daughter is like 1 out of 10. Most of the time they either don't talk or they have extremely toxic relationships, and it's just like can I please have a happy family? But I love that you have that was a relationship between both of the girls and their own mothers, but then also like Minju and Kaji's mom, her mom just like automatically enfolded her and took her in to her arms and showed so much love and affection to her. And I saw that as so like the story is named The Good Samaritan, which is obviously based on the biblical story of the Good Samaritan, but the film actually starts out talking about this story. This is the language lesson they're learning. They're learning this language lesson using the story of the Good Samaritan. So I thought it was an interesting parallel and such a great script writing where the teacher is using this story of the Good Samaritan to teach these girls German and to teach these other students German, but she herself isn't showing behavior of a Good Samaritan. As I said, that she's being dismissive, she doesn't look out for them when they're being bullied. And I'm just like, you are teaching this topic that you yourself are not exhibiting. You are not being a Good Samaritan to these girls. But then the Good Samaritan ends up being Kaji for Minju, but then also Kaji's mom is being the Good Samaritan for Minju as well. So talk about how you developing the script using that story, using the story of the Good Samaritan as kind of like the launch pad and the story arc for all of the characters.
How I feel. Yep. Okay, so I'm grown up in a very strong Christian family, and which I always have to read some Bible stories and also like that, and it was very common to remind these stories through our situations, and I thought like it is very interesting for me that I was helped by a Syrian refugee who are actually also the Kurdish, and I thought it should match. And also we had also this situation in the school, so we learned basically the German, but we learned German through the other subjects like religion, and also histories, and also the music. But the aim, what we learn is just German. Yeah, they use those subjects, but our goal was like fluent speaking German, and I feel like it's very funny because in the class where we learned, I never concentrate about the stories. We are just concentrate about the grammatic and also the speaking, how to good pronunciation like a German. And it was very funny things because there's very similar situation also in the script and also in my life, in real life. And I want to show that there's a story in this around these real situations, but they always miss it. And I want to show them.
I think many people think Germans are good Samaritans because they receive a lot of refugees. But it was very important to us, and like outsiders or like refugees or foreigners could also be a good Samaritan. Yeah, they can also give help. In so many ways. So we could like change the positions to our film. It was probably.
It's true because when it comes to politics, especially when it talks about countries that take in refugees and there's always this idea of looking at the entire country itself politically as a good Samaritan, like they're in this great humanitarian good, but then the individual people that's themselves within these countries, they show prejudice towards the exact same refugees. You know, you in the news, you'll be like, oh, like for instance, Germany or Britain or America accepted all of these refugees in their time of aid because of a war that's taking place. But then they don't talk about the racism and the bigotry that the refugees face individually from the same citizens of these countries. You know, they don't look at the personal stories. They don't look at the individual stories. They don't look at the struggle. And I love that your film it's a short film, but you guys get so much into it, right? You get a lot of nuances in the story that even like big budget films don't pay attention to. And I love that you took the time to make sure you added all of these kind of like references and these, and again, because you have the personal experience, you are able to get all of these things. You know, you're able to see a story and relate it to this experience. You know, like one scene of like, just again using the teacher as an example of the teacher teaching the Samaritan, that conveys so much about your own personal experience and an experience that so many other people from like different countries can relate to. Like I have been an immigrant, even though I only speak English, but I moved to another country that does speak English. Like I relate to having teachers that didn't fully understand me culturally, you know. When I was in school in Canada, because I had to do adult high school and I had to do college, I had in situations where the teachers got impatient, you know, because I wasn't familiar. Like for instance, I was taking a Canadian law class and the teacher was like expecting me to be able to understand. I'm like, well, the system where I'm from is kind of different to yours. Like you just need to like break it down, or like, you know, so like things like that. And then the people themselves, like the regular people on the street, they kind of look at you as being a burden on the society, and it's just like, I'm not a burden. I'm adding something culturally to the country, and I think your film like really does capture the nuances of that, and something that a lot of people who aren't immigrants don't understand. Like for instance, in North America, there's this whole thing about immigrants learning English, you know, and they look down on people who don't speak English. But then, like me and my friends, we always have this conversation. So especially for instance, like Americans and Canadians who don't speak French, like you're looking down on people who speak with an accent or dialect or a whole different language, and you think you're better than us because you speak English. I'm like, but are you really though? Because like for you guys, you have to learn German, you learn Korean, and you're learning English. 3 languages. Most North Americans don't even speak English properly, you know. You know, and then there's some people who know like 4 languages because if they come like from Syria and like then Kurdish, they speak Kurdish. Arabic is different to the Syrian Arabic, you know, and then there's like regional dialects and all that kind of stuff. So you have people who are like multilingual, who are polyglots, moving to like North America, and that adds culturally to the community because you have all of these different people adding so much cultural diversity, but they don't see that as a value. You know, they don't see the value in having cultural diversity. So like that's something that we as immigrants would be like, always just like, are you really that better than everyone else? Like your food doesn't have seasoning. Thank us for giving you seasoned food. You know. But no, Hanhee, I want you to talk about producing this film because like you're both relatively young, right? And this is like your first big project. So talk about like any challenges that you had getting this film produced in Germany, and maybe with distribution and learning about the distribution process as you went along.
Yeah, I had a lot of difficulties. Yeah, first of all, because I had to like work as an actor and a producer. Yeah, so many people helped me a lot. But it was also in a COVID time, and many like in the shooting, 3 of our crew had COVID, and we had to like take a rest. 2 weeks. It is really me
and my cameraman and my assistant director.
Yeah. I didn't know how to handle it, but I thought I should be like Minju. I should go through like this, yeah. And yeah. But I think language barrier don't matter to me. Yeah, like last year, but many people they are asking me like okay, let's get yeah. But many people had us like because our story was very important to society. Yeah, we didn't pay for places like school. We have school, hospital, and the charity shop and house. Yeah, 2 houses and many actors. But they did for free.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which I'm really thankful. Yeah, thankful. And when people willing to help, they are gonna be also very nice. Yeah, like the story. Yeah, I experience again the real society happy. Yeah, like society solidarity. I don't know if it was like answer what.
No, it did because we were talking about for production, like getting a cast can be difficult, but like also just being able to get people to help you for free. I think it's a big deal, but it also speaks again also to you being someone that they can relate to your approach, because if you approach them the right way, they'll say yes, but if you don't approach them the right way, they'll be like, you know what? I can't be bothered, and they're certainly not going to do it for free, right? So like that, I think like what you did was extremely commendable, and you should proud of yourself for that. And it's like fantastic learning experience. But now talk about the challenges of acting, because like doing the production doing the production is one thing, but then acting for your sister, like you'd be like as the regular should be like, you know what, you're being too bossy, but then as Johee being your director, you have to listen to her. So like what you're gonna say. So we'll talk about not working with Johee as your director.
Actually, I didn't want to be Johee. We were looking for many actors, but we could find someone who can speak German and Korean and who looked like 16 years old.
Yeah.
And also with this post-language acting.
Yeah. And my professor said, okay, Hanhee, you could do it. And because you were also in the acting workshop, and I think she was so sure that I could do the role. But I still didn't want to do it. But she convinced me to do it
Because we didn't have money.
Yeah, we didn't have money.
You're like, well, I don't have to worry about paying it.
And I had to take acting courses, and it helped me a lot. And as we said, we had different thoughts about music. And we talked a lot, and we also had a lot of conflicts. But I learned how to listen to another, to my sister. It was also very good lesson for me. And I think it turns out.
It did work. It did work.
And it worked out. It worked out for what?
It was tough, but it was okay.
And so for you, Johee, what was it like directing not only Hanhee, but Shereen, and then also working with the actress? Was that the person playing with the mom? Is that her actual mom?
No.
Okay.
She's
Right. So talk about now being responsible for a cast and directing a cast.
It was very difficult. It was my very first ever as a director, and I didn't know very well how to handle the actors as a director. And through the COVID time, we had also almost post, and then Pina, who are my assistant director, and also DOP, they helped me a lot to handle these all situations, and I've learned a lot from them. And then I learned about it. Okay, if I want to be the main writer, I have to talk with actors a lot, and also have to more and this conversation with them. What they think, what they think about the situation, and also think about the character. And I tried, even if I'm a very shy person, and I always willing not to talk with adults. But anyway, yeah, I tried at least, and then it sounded very working. And also the actress, especially the moms, her name is Samaritan, by the way, and she is so sweet. So she just want to cook for us, yeah, just for free, and just for kindness,
Yeah.
and then it's so good to work with them.
Yeah, no, that's great. So we're gonna wrap up now, but one final question I had, and it's a thought that I think, and I mentioned it to you before, and I think it kind of encapsulates the whole film. Where in the classroom, both Minju and Kajin, they're uncomfortable speaking German, but when they're alone, like their German is almost flawless. You know, their language, their conversations flow easily. They understand each other, and again, that's to me, that's again speaking about how having the no matter what country you come from, immigrants can always find a way to relate to each other, you know, and it's about showing how being willing to listen to other people and being willing to meet people where they are, and understanding that everyone has a different, everyone's journey takes more time, or takes a different pace, you know. So like Kajin, she's not assimilate, I don't even like saying assimilate, but she's integrating into German society a little bit easier. But Minju, she's having a tougher time because she's again alone, and she doesn't have a support system. Like her mom is in Korea, she doesn't have anyone there for her. But they both are uncomfortable speaking the language in the classroom, you know. And I love that. That's showing how having people who understand you makes it easier to communicate, you know. So I want you to talk about the importance of showing that in the film, but also how that helps with your own experience with communicating with other people. Because using our own experiences, we've had like a fantastic time hanging out during the festival, right? And like we are all like, I love like the group that we've been with. Like everyone speaks different languages, you know. But we're always having so much fun, eating so much food. But like we all like have the commonality of like basically all being immigrants. Now that I'm thinking about it, and like having the love of film as like our link to each other. So talk about having that perspective of like individual understanding of someone else, and also community and forming the importance of forming a community, especially with immigrants and as refugees.
Yeah, I think it's very good concept. Yeah, and then I want to say that. So first of all about the class and also the at home. Yeah, I would like to say that. And it is like there's some difference. Like in the class, she has to talk unwillingly.
Right.
Yeah, but at home, they are just try figure out who we are and who we could do. And then there's some real point who wants to speak really well. And that chance is very important to communicate themselves. So I just put in there like in the school or in the class, they speak just how to speak the broken German,
Right.
because it's like pushing. They are pushing to speak about herself, about themselves, which is actually not really nice, and which are very pushing. But I lose my
No, I understand.
Yeah.
They're being forced to speak it when they don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Rather, when they're together, they're more comfortable. So if the language comes easier. Right.
In the press, they are like injured by someone else. Yeah, not only in the press, like in the streets, or like when we as immigrants trauma, and we are injured and they make fun of us because of broken German. But like Minju, because they don't like just like themselves. So I think this was very like important. Okay, important to not like judge people in that way. Yeah, as you said, we have to see the value, and Minju because so see their value in China. Yeah, so they don't care like about the languages. that's why we want to share also my own situations. So I am very bad at language, and then in the class I actually didn't say anything. I was just like silent and just keep trying to hear their stuff. But when I was at the Shereen at the home by Shereen, I think it is the first time that I spoke with Shereen about our families, about our families, and also about our situations. And he was so happy to hear them and to share these stories. And then I start to speak more and more and more. Yeah, more and more to get this feeling again, and it was very, very, how to say, very touching for me. Yeah, because it is also the like my communication situations. Yeah.